built and bred to deliver a thrill like no other. Ladies and gentlemen, the all-new 2015 Acura TLX.
This is Jeff Palmer with the Temple VTEC. I'm here at the 2014 New York International Auto Show standing with Matt Hargett, who is the LPL Chief Engineer. We just spoke to him like 3 months ago in Detroit, and where we saw the prototype for the TLX. And today they have introduced the 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder production models. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Jeff.
I know there's lots of new technologies to talk about in these cars. I mean, where do you even want to start?
I don't know. You want to talk about dynamic performance of the car? How about that?
Sure. So, like, what we're looking at here, we have two-wheel drive models with the PAWS system.
Right.
My understanding is this is the V6 model here, the gray one.
That's
and
right.
Behind us, we have a blue 4-cylinder. So, if you want to talk about the new 4-cylinder engine, get us started, it'd probably be good with the 8-speed dual clutch transmission.
Yeah, it's a new 2.4 liter, 206 horsepower, inline 4-cylinder iVTEC. It's got about 10% torque up across the entire power band. And it's new engine because we have a new dual stage intake, which helps us increase the torque across that entire power band. It optimizes it.
When you say 10% up, you're referencing the former TSX 4-cylinder?
Yeah, referencing the former TSX 4-cylinder, right. And we've also mated this to an all-new 8-speed dual clutch transmission with a torque converter. And that's the first time for us to put an 8-speed dual clutch transmission, this transmission, into a car. And it's really a fantastic powertrain. And that's why I mentioned earlier, the power to weight ratio is really going to fool people, because they might look at it and think the car's slower compared to an outgoing TSX, but actually it's 1.5 seconds faster. And it delivers this very direct and rhythmical feeling and sound when you drive it. It's really fun to drive. It's exceeded our expectations.
So you're comparing the 5-speed automatic TSX 4-cylinder, and you're saying this is about 1.5 seconds faster to 60?
That's right, yes.
So that puts it in a similar range to, let's say, the 6MT of the TSX?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But what I do know is it's the fastest 4-cylinder in the segment. It's faster than some competitors' 4-cylinder turbo and small displacement V6 engines. That's how quick this car is.
And what about fuel economy?
Fuel economy is really good. It's up 2 in the city and 4 in the highway over the outgoing TSX. So it's going to get 35 miles per gallon on the highway.
That's pretty good. And what size tank are we talking?
Oh man, 65 liters. I don't know. You want to convert that? I haven't converted that to gallons yet.
About 17, 16 gallons, somewhere in that range, I think.
Somewhere in that range, right.
Okay. And the feel with a torque converter, I mean, why is Honda the first company to decide to mate a torque converter to a dual clutch transmission?
Well, we wanted the very quick, sporty response out of the powertrain. Right. I mean, we know that a lot of the TSX customers that we're trying to capture with this car really like that responsive feel of the TSX off the launch. But we wanted it across the entire speed range. So we wanted to give them something quick, like a DCT. But we know a lot of DCTs out there have that jerky feeling at launch, right, going in between gears. And we knew they weren't going to accept that, quite frankly, right, out of a premium car. So one of the ways to do that is to put a torque converter on it, and we can slip it to actually smooth out the launch. But the other good thing about the torque converter is it actually multiplies the torque at launch, and that helps with the acceleration feel.
And then once you're underway, you're able to lock it and then rely upon the dual clutch for seamless transmission or seamless shifting?
Yes. Yep.
And then you don't have any of the inherent losses with the torque converter. Is that kind of the idea?
Right. Well, there might be some. Can't even quantify it for you, because we don't have a version one with and one without. We just felt like that we needed one to deliver that premium launch feel. Otherwise, people just quite simply probably wouldn't, buy the car in this
Now, can you talk about the weight of the 4-cylinder model?
The weight, it's roughly the same as the TSX, the outgoing TSX.
Okay, so roughly 3,400.
Right, 3,400 pounds.
Okay.
Again, I'm still in metric mode, so I apologize for that.
Right, so some form of kilos there.
Yes.
And are you guys ready to talk anything about pricing? Is this going to be in a common range or similar range to the TSX to start with the 4-cylinder?
Yeah, we haven't announced pricing yet at this time, but I think people will be pretty surprised with everything that you get with this car, the price point.
Now, what is the feature parity like between the 4-cylinder and the V6? Is there certain features you can only get with the V6 or only with all-wheel drive, or have you guys decided to separate the powertrain from the feature set?
From a feature perspective, the difference between a 4-cylinder and a V6, there's two. The 4-cylinder gets the 17-inch wheel and tire, and the V6 gets the 18. And also the passenger seat is a 4-way on the 4-cylinder and 8-way on the V6.
Speaking of the wheels, I was told earlier by somebody else on these cars both have 19-inch accessory wheels. Is that correct?
Yes, they do.
Okay, well, is there anything else you want to talk about on the 4-cylinder version?
I don't know if you want to talk about precision all-wheel steer, which also
yes, absolutely.
Standard. Yeah, precision all-wheel steer comes standard on the 4-cylinder. So we've redesigned it, implemented it in such a way that we get low to mid-speed agility and high-speed stability. That's the simplest way I can explain it, because normally there's a lot of trade-off when you design the chassis of a car. It's either going to be very sporty, but then at high speeds, it's very quick, and it's kind of a handful, like a nervous cat. It's a lot of work just to keep it in the lane, and we didn't want to do that. So we made a very responsive base chassis. And what we do is we have the rear wheels move out of phase from the front at low and mid speeds, so we even enhance that agility even more. But at high speeds, we actually move the rear wheels in phase with the fronts, so the car literally translates from lane to lane. So it gives you a very confident and secure feeling, just makes the car more fun to drive.
So this is essentially the same strategy used with the RLX PAWS system?
Yes, yeah. It's, tuned obviously differently. It's a different car, and we're always getting better at implementing new technologies, and I just can't wait for you to drive it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. So we took 4 inches of length out of the car, same wheelbase and same interior tandem spacing.
Right.
What other dimensional things can you talk about?
It's lower by about 1/2 inch. So that helps with the low and wide stance that we wanted. That also helped with the dynamic proportions, pulling off those 4 inches out of the overhangs and lowering the car 1/2 inch. Really helped with the overall proportion of the vehicle.
Now, I couldn't help but notice in the press release, I quickly glanced at it before talking to you, you've transitioned out of the McPherson strut design, which was introduced also in the current generation Accord. It's my understanding this is the newer platform versus the RLX using the previous generation global midsize platform. Is that possibly one of the reasons you're able to shorten the overhangs by going to the more compact McPherson strut setup, or is it unrelated?
No, some of it's unrelated. A lot of, it has something to do with it because yes, it's in the engine room. There's a lot of, repackaging in the engine room to shorten that front overhang.
And I'm sure you guys did a lot of work underneath to smooth the underbody and aero management and those kind of things. Obviously, the MPGs are king, right?
Right. Well, yeah, it's really important. All customers are worried about fuel economy now. But we wanted to make a good dynamic design, not impact, the styling at all. But we do have best-in-class CD and CDA, both.
And I heard you guys talking about the CMBS features, and I assume that's available on both the 4-cylinder, all the active safety featers, I'm saying.
Right, we redesigned all those too.
Yeah. So you have a more advanced collision mitigation braking system. Is there a new acronym for that one?
No, we're still calling it collision mitigation braking system, but the camera's new, and the radar's new. So with the camera only, on some grades. You get lane departure warning and forward collision warning, but you also get lane keeping assist with this new camera. But when you made it with the new radar system, so for the first time these two things are going to be working together or in coordination with each other, right? Talking to each other, that we're going to get enhanced car-to-car and for the first time car-to-pedestrian collision mitigation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it can differentiate pedestrians versus vehicles.
Right, right. And it also enhances our adaptive cruise control functionality. So right now, if you're on the highway and you come up to a traffic jam, it'll bring you all the way down to 0. And then when the traffic in front of you starts going, all you have to do is tap the resume button, and it'll take you right back up to speed. So it's really seamless across the entire speed range with this new integration of the camera and the radar.
That is also in the MDXs and the MDX and RLX as well, correct?
No, sometimes that drops out below 25 miles an hour.
Okay.
This will actually control your speed. The cruise control will control your speed across the entire speed range from 0 to 100.